I'm Gary Lyon and welcome to Access All Areas. As I say hello to Matthew Lloyd and Damien Barrett. Yesterday, a gutsy and perhaps famous victory for the Collingwood Footy Club, boys.
Well, it was, Gaz, and you go back only 3 weeks and they were 43 points down before half-time of a game against Collingwood. That was going to be disaster time had they lost that game, but they win that game, they win the next one, and then they win yesterday very courageously. They've set themselves up for a crack now.
Yeah, it's never easy winning on the road and in Perth in particular, and it's even harder when you get injuries, and they lost 4 players, really, and they... Tyson Goldsack was really brave from him, the way he played on. You see this incident, 8 minutes to go, he couldn't even lift his shoulder, so he was carrying that for a while, and he hung in there. He's one of the bravest players at the club.
Wells off, of course, and Jamie Elliott had done his ankle, and I reckon Levi Greenwood had copped one in the shin, so it was when you talk about famous victories, I mean, that's a gutsy effort, isn't it, from Goldsack to be throwing himself. Just stop and think, if you're watching this sitting in your office chair, if you've got a broken shoulder, you're still at work, putting in like those mates said. The on-ball was did the job. But I mean, Darcy Moore showed great signs, boys. I just reckon he's been up and moved up and been given a bit of freedom.
The better side, Damo. 18 more inside 50s, deserved the win. Freo kept challenging them. Again, they missed too many shots, and great scenes for Nathan Buckley.
He's got to deal with this matter. This is serious, given that the impact that Jamie Elliott has had since he's now got some form and time back into his system. But look, it does mean a lot for Nathan Buckley.
What?
It just means a lot, because if you can bring that team back... I still go back to that Hawthorn game in round 9, Lordo, as a real indication as to what he's about. They then beat Brisbane, and then, as you say, this is a courageous victory. As courageous a victory as he's had against West Coast Interstate. I think it means a lot.
Gary, he said... we're 2 and 6 or something, whatever they were. He said, I've got to get ahead of the ledger. They're still not ahead of the ledger. And Monday they play Melbourne. It's going to be huge for him and his coaching career.
Yeah, well, they're both... I mean, if they're ever a chance to sneak in an unlikely 8th, that would be the spot they're going to take from a Melbourne if Fremantle under the pump. Hey, let's go to another side who are under the pump. We've spoken about the Eagles quite a bit on this program, and their inability to travel and win away from home was again exposed. And albeit not to Melbourne this time, but up to the Gold Coast.
Yeah, just on the Gold Coast Suns, the theory around the competition is that they're not a hard side, they're more an uncontested side. So you go up there and you physically work them over. Port Adelaide did it 2 weeks ago, and a number of sides have also done it to them in recent times. And they lose the tackle count by 17, they lose the contested count, which says a lot about where the West Coast
Eagles are currently. What it says is they can't work them over. We've spoken about a hard edge here. That first 20 minutes was as uncontested and open footy as I've ever seen. It gives Gold Coast, who would have had doubts about themselves, Damo, it gives them 20 minutes to ease into the contest.
Well, you're obviously the class full forward. When Josh Kennedy gets lauded, as we have for a number of years now, is he actually somehow better than what we've actually given him credit for, given that when he's out, and Jack Darling just hasn't performed either with him or without him?
He's everything to the West Coast Eagles, Josh Kennedy. I think their midfield is solid, but they're one-paced. So I'm not sure what their trick is without Josh Kennedy in the team. Jack Darling comes in. I was hoping he'd be the Daniel Bradshaw. When Jonathan Brown was out, Bradshaw became the player, and I thought he'd be a great player as that number 1 man. Jack Darling's definitely not that, underperformed again.
He either can't or he won't. We talk about leadership too with this group. Who is their stand-up, take control leaders? Well, there's a moment late in the game where Shannon Hearn, who's the skipper, they're down. You can see the score. They're 3 points behind. There's 46 seconds. There's one option here. One option only, Damo. Even you, back in the Kensington under-13s, would have gone long down the middle.
Look, why is Mitchell there standing there? Is he just because he's tired, or is he presenting?
He's overthinking.
And why is Mitchell then going to Jeddah?
Well, look at the clock now. They've narrowed a half of the ground down, which is exactly what Gold Coast would want. They'd have Lynch down the line and their other tools. Game over. Belt the bejesus out of it, if I'm allowed to say that, and right down the middle of the ground and hope for the best. Or not hope for the best,
We've ridiculed the Richmond Footy Club 2 weeks in a row. That was actually worse.
Yeah, well, I would like to know what Shannon Hearn was doing.
Well, you've spoken for a number of weeks about this team. They're leaders, they're a conservative, placid group. And that's either they just haven't thought through or just sums up what sort of team they are.
Take the bull by the horns and belt it down there and be structured up. Have Darling there, have Vardy there, and see, as we saw with the GWS boys.
And had it not been for some messy forward entries from the Suns, which we'll have a look at now, it could well have been decided long before it actually was. These kicks are all going into positions that don't suit the Suns, Gaz, and they eventually get it right, and ultimately that's the reason they win the game. But even this, West Coast didn't take advantage of this messing around.
And what you got is in Peter Wright and Tom Lynch, you got two forwards that at worst, Damo, won't get outmarked if you give them an opportunity, and then that sets you up for your small crummers. But this inside 50 delivery just isn't giving them a chance.
And then they do, finally.
Well, eventually they do, and it takes Harbrow and I reckon Ablett. Inside 50 kick's still the most important. And you might say, what's the difference with this? Well, it had some height, and it gives this bloke who's 7 foot a chance to jump at it, and then lowering your eyes a minute later to burn 30 seconds off the clock.
They play Hawthorn at the MCG, the Suns, so pretty much they lose that, their season's over, just like Hawthorn's is.
Hey, Damo, this morning on radio, Mike Sheehan, who is the former chief football writer and the most respected football commentator I think we've seen, he said about Ben Cousins, we're talking about it, his partner was on television last night, that he was aware of a situation in 2010 where he was admitted to hospital for what he is saying is an overdose of GHB, which is a
drug overdose. Look, it was said to be at the time, Lordo, and there were two incidents that we absolutely know of in 2009 and 10 where Ben Cousins was taken to hospital. Both times were spun out of by Richmond, and I'm happy to say the AFL as well, because it was then told to us at the time that it was a mixture of sleeping tablets and either alcohol or soft drink or whatever it was. Caffeine drugs, but it was certainly the sleeping tablet excuse that was trotted out. You need to go back to the timeline where Ben Cousins missed a large chunk of 2007, then missed all of 2008. The AFL then decided to let him back into the system in 2009, and this is on the back of him choosing to shave down before the ultimate drug test, the hair test that he was supposedly had to have done and passed before they allowed him back in the system. They didn't get the proper test on that. They then basically created a way for him to get to Richmond Footy Club, only one club left with its last pick in the pre-season draft. And so what I'm saying is, Gaz, there was a narrative and it didn't suit the AFL's tail to come down hard on Ben Cousins when these things happened in 2009 and 10.
An overdose and hospitalised. An overdose. I mean, what's that say? What sort of image is that giving us?
It says that you shouldn't be playing footy at any stage near that particular incident. And again, these questions were put to everyone. I mean, Andrew Demetrio, Adrian Anderson, the people at Richmond, some who may still be there. But these questions were put to these people at the time, Lordo, and there was a very convenient...
They chose not to tell the truth.
Well, they didn't know the truth, or they chose not to know the truth, or they chose to spin.
More on this, I reckon, throughout the course of the week. Dustin Martin, let's get on back onto the footy field, and he was in superb touch, and you were there Saturday night, watching on the couch. This was the thing amongst many that stood out, his delivery by foot.
Yeah, what's separating Dangerfield and Martin from the rest of the midfields in the competition is they're kicking big goals. So he's kicked 16, Dangerfield's kicked 23 or something like that, and it's their foot skills. And I just think that Dustin Martin, what North don't have, Zeeble, Cunnington, Dumont...
Yep.
They just can't do that, and that's why he was a difference in the game, guys.
And what he's got, Damo, he's in his quiver, if you like, he's got different arrows. He can go bang, hard, low, 55.
There's a deft kick there.
And then he can go soft touch, and then he can go powerful, off balance, smack through the middle of the ground. That's a very impressive little kick there.
And Lottie, when you say what North Melbourne was unable to do against him on the weekend, it's no now secret why they're after the two players, him included, and Kelly. Who would you take if you had them both as possibilities to go?
I might be sitting on the fence, but for this year, to win me a flag, I'd take Dustin Martin. If I had to offer someone 5 years, I would be Josh Kelly for the future.
Yep. And I'd be happy to take whoever he doesn't get. Jack Revolt on the weekend, he had an interesting start. Your relationship with umpires is always interesting. He got 2 free kicks against early in this match.
Okay, should that have been played against him? It's a bit iffy, isn't it?
Technically, but I would have thought not. You know, that's just an iffy one.
Yep.
And then he gets another one against very shortly. Actually, there's another couple.
That's harsh, isn't it? Well, when you look back at this, that one looks really harsh.
You let that go because they got the ball.
It actually worked for them because it slowed up North in the end anyway.
I mean, the contact was high and incidental, but this is the one where I was thinking... Well, anyway, we don't do free kicks too often, but we're talking about the philosophy of what happens when you get a bad run, and this was not a free kick, by the way. I think he's trying to help Tara.
Yeah, I think he was. And as you can see, these happen all before half-time. We then go into the main break, and look what happens effectively immediately after, Gaz.
Yeah.
Something's been said.
I don't know.
Yes, it has.
You reckon that the...
Oh, well, how do you pay that free kick when you haven't paid it all year to anyone?
And this is all the
seconds after it all started.
First 2 minutes of the third quarter.
Well, how do you pay that one?
I don't know how you pay that.
Well, it's probably there, but...
Arms out and appealing, that's how you pay for it. And then another one, which is a good tackle by Jack, I reckon, and I think that one was there, by the way.
That one was there.
I don't think it's a big deal, but sometimes, Damo, I know Richo on the commentary call was saying you just don't get on the bad side of it.
What do we learn more about from the Friday night game? More about the Cats? More about the Crows? Because I'm still undecided on what we actually saw and witnessed by what it means in the big picture. I really like the Cats, but the Crows are disappointing.
Well, number one, you never tip against Geelong at home because they've now won 13 of 14. Still, their last two bad losses were to Collingwood and Essendon at the MCG. So I'm still not totally sold on Geelong, but they are a top 4 side. Adelaide, Gary, the question is plan B, Don Pike, is he too conservative? He didn't help his forwards.
No, I don't think he did. I think you got a defence of Tom Lonergan, who's in the twilight of a great career, but you got to ask the question of him of where can he defend Taylor Walker 1 out with space. Young Stewart playing his first handful of games was fantastic. Asked the question of him, have Tom Lynch take him back to the square. There was none of that. He had 4 forwards against 6 defenders at opening bounces. It's a trick. It works every now and then. What it does, it gives Cameron and Betts no space to run into. It gives Taylor Walker, that can't take a contested mark, no space to run into. I didn't like it. They changed it about the 20-minute mark of the third quarter, kicked 5 of the last 6 goals. Self-fulfilling, maybe? No, that's the way they've got to set up.
A bit like Adelaide and Geelong to some point, Lotto, was Port Adelaide's situation. The losses they've had have been to teams that they would have liked to have at least beaten just to change this conversation that they are a real deal. Because at the halfway point, Gaz, as good as they've been, and I still think they're going to be pushing up, the fact they've lost to these teams by these margins just still leaves them in the unknown zone.
Well, at the time, Adelaide were flying. GWS are now on top of the ladder, and the Cats are flying. The West Coast at home would be the one they'd probably revisit. I like them.
I do too, and they've got Essendon, Brisbane, Collingwood in the next 3 weeks, so their true test may not come for a while yet.
Hey, the huge talking point a couple of weeks ago was Charlie Dixon and his inability to get the footy off for 30 seconds. Have a look at this. This has paid a 50-metre penalty against Port Adelaide for running into the exclusion zone. I think the free kick's there. I don't think...
Could have played that 100 times before round 11.
Including this one. They would have liked that umpire, would they not have? Would have liked him on that stage.
That's arguably closer to Dixon, isn't it?
Charlie Dixon gets 50 metres, is kicking from the point.
Do you reckon they discussed it during the week?
Well, you say they don't at half-time, Damo. I say they do during the week.
Okay.
And what they might need to discuss is security. The security at Geelong was so good, in fact, that they didn't get off the ground. Come on, Lordo, what's going on here, please?
I can understand one just has a brain fade, but Damo, how do 2 possibly do the same thing?
Well, they're obviously all in on this, Lordo.
But look at the bloke. I don't know. We can't
see
see that. I don't know if we can cue that up again. Do you look at the bloke on the far side? Even when the game starts, he walks off. It's not like he gets in. Have a look at this. You watch the guy once the ball gets bounced on the far side, Damo.
Yep.
You'd reckon you've realised the mistake. You get off as fast as you can. Just watch him.
I like it.
No, ball bounce.
James Sicily,
there he goes. Stroll. Off I go. Very nice, man.
I like it.
Hey, time for our lift hard hitting moments, and boys, I would suggest both of you don't even participate in this. Because I have got in here early this morning and I've claimed the best.
Oh, you haven't got the easy option.
The best. Came off with his head split open and half his earlobe hanging off,
And
then 30 seconds later he's back taking that. There's none better. I like what you two have got.
Well,
give up.
I had given up, but I do like what I'm about to produce, Gaz. It's the old bull and the young bull, and the Luke Hodge against Pal Pepper.
Yeah.
Not bad, but I do concede you might have me covered.
Hey, I'm not sure if you're Seinfeld fans, but pretzels, they do make you thirsty. And this one, Brendan Goddard, who serves up pretzels to AFL footballers at half time. He smashes them on. But look at Daiso Heppel. He's not happy.
Look at the look here.
It's the second time this year, Gaz, he's given Goddard a spray.
I like it. That's what leadership's about. That's disrespectful to the pretzel person. Hey, good work, boys. Thanks very much. And thank you once again for watching. Access all areas on Australia's #1 sport and football website, afl.com.au. We'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.